6 o'clock though.
Amy, are you ready? Okay. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all members present. We will go on to citizen input. Please keep it to 4 minutes or less. Is there anyone interested in coming up for citizen comment?
We doing reports today?
There's nothing in there. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just say that's on there. Nothing.
Okay.
Oh, here's, I'll give it to you when I'm done my yellow slip. I just want to cover a couple things on the budget part of this new business. I was talking to our financial guy, Matt, today, and very, very upset. And when I talked to Mr. Retzloff last 2 weeks ago and said, why is this all such a mess? He said, your board votes for all this stuff. Okay, so it's your responsibility, all right? And now what we're looking at in Germantown, we got millions of dollars in debt for 26, which the taxes are going to go up approximately 200 based on my house. 27, they're going to go up another $250. That's $500. They went up 500 last year. That's $1,000. I have a question. Do any of you people live in Germantown? You're taxing yourself. We need to cut this budget, slash it. And I think we can cut at least millions of dollars from your capital budget, and you need to cap borrowing. This is getting out of hand. I've never seen a board like this before that never says no. And what is the purpose of this? Why is a board who listens to people come up? We've had meetings with people. They don't like what you're doing. They don't want to pay for all this stuff. And why aren't those properties for sale? I haven't seen a for sale sign on them on Mequon and Pilgrim Road, okay? They should be up for sale, and you should demand that be done. And that's what's happening to us. You're putting this on our backs and your backs. I don't want to pay another $1,000. I'm paying now $650 a month to live here. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. For what? Because a board is wildly going to spend money on things that they don't need immediately. We can have the police department wait a couple years till we get cold. Let's sell those properties and take the money and pay off some of our debt. I've cut back my personal debt. I've gone through everything I can cut, cable, everything, okay, just to have money put away. I've got a roof to put on, that's $25,000. And this is just getting out of hand. And people are calling me and saying, why are they doing this? I said, well, come to the meetings and tell them how you feel. And then I guess my question is this what qualified people vote for? How last time when somebody wanted to be on a committee, they weren't qualified? So is this what qualified people do on boards? They vote for things that put us in a tax bind, a really big one. $30 million is coming up next year. This is out of hand. This is just out of hand. And I'm going to be looking into this statewide to see what we can do as a community, as a taxpayer, because I don't like this at all. And we can hold off on a lot of stuff. Why don't you try cutting your budget? Cut it. We can cut that capital expenditure, probably $5 million or so, and our borrowing is going to kill us. We just can't afford it. So please look at this. You don't have to vote for everything. You don't have to, because you're being held accountable by two people. And this is not, and they don't even live in Germantown. So they're not going to be affected by the taxes. We are. So thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Or is there anyone else that'd like to come forward for citizen comment?
Good evening, Scott Heffley, W159N10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown. A couple things on the general budget, two things on the capital. General budget again, okay? I read a lot of financial reports. I've been reading them for 30 years, okay? I don't know why we keep listing revenues as negatives and expenses as positives, okay? That's confusing to most people that don't have an accounting background. It's not how you present it. I read financial reports, I read all sorts of company statements, everything, balance statements, income statements. We are the only community that I see putting it out there like that. So, I mean, it's very difficult to follow, even for me. And I guess the only thing I'm saying is I don't think we know how to run reports. I really don't, because these are not the reports. If I turned a report like this in my beginning accounting class at La Crosse, I would have gotten an F in the class, okay? This is not how you present financial statements. Don't assume everybody has an accounting degree sitting up there trying to make decisions on behalf. If this is all Tyler Munis has to offer, then we're wasting a lot of money every year. I don't believe that to be true. We can look right up the road at West Bend. They have a very clear, precise way of doing their budgets. Maybe we should talk to them and see how they do their reports, because anyone can understand it. Second thing, I did notice a big increase. Salaries and wages for police department up about 13%. I mean, I don't remember everything, but I think that was due to the police admin staff increase and the 4% due to collective bargaining, but that's a big increase. Obviously, I'm a big supporter of the police department, but I don't think we can do 13% increases every single year. Pretty soon that'll be unsustainable. So if we have collective bargaining to do it with, but 13% a year will be out of hand soon if we keep doing that. One last comment. This isn't direct, but regarding dispatch, I've never got an answer about, okay, we were told that we're pushing dispatch up to the county to save money. So am I to assume that all our dispatchers we had doing dispatch are gone? Because that was the whole reason to do that, to save money. If they're still working, and I doubt we cut their pay to stay working for the village, then we didn't really save money, did we? It wasn't kind of an accounting thing for 1 year to get us past, and now we're back to a net zero. So I've never gotten an answer from that. Do we have the same amount of dispatchers as they do with doing other duties? They're not taking a pay cut. So we just did it to kind of, I don't know, kind of sort of balance the budget for 1 year, and now we're back to the same costs. So that was my other thing. The last thing is on the capital requests. I know we have police department design in there. I know you're not borrowing the money till February, but if you guys approve the fact you're going to talk about it, there might be some people at Village Hall that think that it's a done deal and we're going to borrow that money. Okay? We don't even have a site picked out yet for what we're doing with the police department. How do I know that? I don't know. I talked to 3 trustees and I talked to the village board president, and he says it never came forward for an actual site that, yes, we're doing it here. All right. I've heard rumors of the DPW building. Guess what, folks? It has no sewer or water. That's going to be $2 to $3 million bucks, in case anyone knows. It's going to be a lot of money. You're not going to do a TID. It's going to be a lot of money. You can shake your head, Trustee Baum. It's not free. Okay. So let's decide where we're building it before we decide that we're going to spend $3 million on design. Okay. Let's get Chief Merton's input on that, right? Let's not just decide for him. Let's have his input on it. So I'm not worried about when we have to borrow. We have to rush and borrow things, okay? Ehlers will pick up the phone and call us back if we just tell them that we want to borrow money. That's a fact. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward for citizen comments? Anyone else? I do have one email I'm going to read in, and it doesn't have anything to do with the budget discussion, but there's some questions that I was hoping the chiefs could maybe have answers for next Monday's meeting. It says, hello, questions for you for tonight's meeting. We understand it's about the budget discussion, but can you please ask how many times the fire and police have been called to the old flower source since the last time this was spoken about? Curious about this. How will this affect the budget? Also, are there any more staff members from the fire department having health issues with the mold? Last count was at 6. Hope everyone is doing well with the health issue. How will this affect the budget too? Thank you for your time, the Schneiders. So I'd just be curious on calls you've had to the flower source, if we could just get that information next Monday. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to item 4, meeting minutes from September 2nd, 2025. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. None opposed, motion carries. Reports are listed on here, but that's just because that's what the template is. We're not discussing any reports at this meeting, and we have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business, which is 2026 budget departmental review for police and fire.
Thank you
So
very much.
I have a question before you start,
Yep.
and then once he gets started, anytime you have questions, feel free to just jump in. I know with shared revenue, it looks like the state projected was 744,000. And when I look at the police, they're getting 10,000 of that, and fire's 343. Where's the other 391,000 going?
So I think you're conflating shared revenue with intergovernmental revenue.
Okay.
Intergovernmental revenue is any revenue from, a different governmental entity. Typically, the county or the state is recognized as intergovernmental revenue. Shared revenue is a very specific type of intergovernmental revenue,
Mhm.
and those dollars are budgeted as non-departmental because it makes up several. It gets allocated. I shouldn't say allocated. It takes up several different departments. It's, shared revenue is not dedicated to, one specific department or, one specific person or expense. It's just used as a revenue within the general fund to balance the budget.
Okay, and is that the account that's the ST, state shared revenue?
Yep. So if you looked in the non-departmental revenue,
Mhm.
under intergovernmental revenue, there is a line that says state shared revenue.
Right, that's a 744.
Yes.
So that's why I was curious, because police are getting very little of that, and fire's,
So the overall shared
Bigger.
revenue is not, dedicated to a specific department. It is used, as a revenue in the general fund.
but is it limited to specific departments per the state statutes?
So for Act 12, the supplemental revenue can only be used for police, fire, public works, and I believe transportation. That's a very small portion of the shared revenue. It's the supplemental portion is, a couple $100,000. So until the supplemental revenue is higher than, those expense for those budgets, we just budget as non-departmental.
Okay, and just so I'm clear, it's kind of going in to cover salaries for those departments and everything?
Yes.
Is it something we could use for capital items or not?
You could use them for capital items. You would have to then find
Pull it out
other
of the general
sources.
fund, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to either cut expenses to allocate that to capital, or find other revenues to supplement that revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Why is my PowerPoint not showing? There.
Is now the time to ask questions about the police budget?
I think he's gonna do a little presentation, so if anything he says.
Song and dance.
There we go.
just-
Gotcha.
Get the dog pic.
Yeah, and feel free to interrupt me with any questions you have as we go through it. This is just an overview of those budgets. So we'll start with the police department revenues. The bulk of the revenues for the police department comes from two main areas, fines and forfeitures. Typically, those are court fees and fines that the department receives. That's roughly $135,000 a year that we get in court fees. The other large portion of the revenues is down on the miscellaneous revenues, and that is where we track payments from the school district for our school resource officers, whether that be just the monthly bill or if there's any extra overtime that those officers dedicate to the school district. We bill the school district and receive those revenues in that line. You'll see there's a slight increase there that is to account for the new contract and the increase in those SROs' salaries and benefits. Overall, there's a slight decrease in the fines and forfeitures budget line. It's only a few $1,000s. That's just a match with the last few years of actuals, where we've collected less of those. In addition, the PD has a tower rental, which increases on a roughly 2 to 3% a year basis. So we did increase that for 2026. And as I previously mentioned, SRO payments from the school district are also allocated to the PD.
Is that where the cellular,
Yes.
that tower? Okay.
Yep. Looking at the police department admin expenses, this is the bulk of the expenses for the police department. As you'll notice, salaries and benefits accounted for the increase in the 2026 recommended budget, totaling roughly $270,000 increase over the 2025 adopted budget. A portion of that was offset by decreases in the operating expenses. Most notably in the operating expenses, there was decreases in PD communication salary budget line. That is where some of the contracts we had related to dispatch were charged. We'll no longer need those, we'll no longer need those in 2027. So we decided to decrease those budget lines.
Jack?
Yep.
Since we moved dispatch, we are, how many jobs have left the village via dispatch? Do you know? Because shouldn't salaries, in my mind, salaries and wages should go down because we moved dispatch to county. So we don't have those salaries and wages or benefits for those people that were working dispatch.
But you picked up one of the new officers.
We had 8 dispatchers initially, and we were down to 4 at the end. Those 4 dispatchers were turned into clerical positions. One is a system specialist, 2 support specialists, and a records clerk. That's what the 4 remaining dispatchers were turned into.
So we were down 4 and we added how many officers?
What do you mean?
How many additional officers did we bring on?
Well, we were given 4 officers in 2024.
Oh, sorry.
5 with the referendum in 2025. And currently we are still 2 short.
Okay, so that's why I'm just struggling to figure out why salaries and wages went up, even though we lost 4 employees, but then we added 5. So that's 1 additional employee.
Trustee Beaver, I can maybe explain that a little bit more. So for the 2024 budget is where we made those budgetary changes for dispatch. So dispatch used to have its own org, similar to police admin. Dispatch used to have its own. For the 2024 budget, we reduced those expenses to account for the decrease in dispatch personnel that we will have. In 2025 and 2026, and in 2025 and 2026, there was no budgeted salaries and benefits for dispatch. All of that was reallocated to the police department admin.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Question. So we are still during 2026, we would like to hire the 2 more officers. So the dollar figure for officers already includes that, or we should anticipate when we hire them, that number goes up?
As we move forward, when we get to the patrol expenses, all positions are currently budgeted for.
Okay.
You could probably answer this very easy for PD communication. So we went from $98,000 being budgeted for 2025. Now it's down to $65,000 for 2026. Why are we still budgeting for that if we no longer have dispatch?
Can you give me line item?
Yep, it is account number. Well, do you want the 6-digit code? Okay, 6-digit code is 561500.
Yeah, and the chief might be able to provide more details on that specific line. There are other contracts that we budget in that line besides dispatch contracts. So that's why we decreased it for 2026, but we didn't eliminate it completely.
Sure. So shouldn't we change that line item then to reflect that it is for contracts, not for communication?
We can name the general ledger lines whatever we would like. Historically, going back, as long as I've been in here and certainly prior, that line has been called PD communication.
Okay.
I maybe can enlighten that. It is contracts. However, there's a lot more that comes out of that. Supplies for communications for the department, that all comes out of that line item. If you wanted specifics, I'd have to go in and see what we've purchased out of that account. But I think our paper, like, comes out of that account. Anything related to the PD as far as office equipment comes out of that PD communications.
But then there's a line item for office supplies as well.
Correct. There's a combination of it comes out of both. I'd have to look at as far as what the secretary is putting in as far as what comes out of supplies and what comes out of communications.
Okay.
But the communications was basically a lot of the contracts that we had with Baycom, with Pro Phoenix.
So Pro Phoenix is under the communication?
Correct. I mean, we still have to, Baycom was, but all of the service contracts that we have also come out of that.
Service contracts, like, what kind of service contracts?
Like for the copy machine.
But then there's a line item for PD
Correct.
copy machine.
But there's some, like, if the contract comes out of there, but the, any maintenance comes out of this like Xerox. But as far as the contract goes, that stuff comes out of there. Anything related like to what we had with dispatch, general communications with the radios, that came out of the PD communications because they were involving with dispatch.
Okay.
Part of the,
If
Further.
possible, if we could have a further breakdown of that line item.
Yeah.
I think that would just help make sense of why I'm glad it's gone down 33,000. But I was hoping it was gonna go down more than that. So if we could just have a little more detail for that line item, I know I'd really appreciate it.
what's the notation in the final column? Portion taken for captain position in 26 and 27. What does that mean?
That was the addition of the captain's position this year that I created. The money that we saved from not having all of the contracts that we associated Baycom, we were able to split, and some of the other expenses involving with dispatch. We were able to use that towards the captain's salary for this year.
So you took money from the communications line and you reallocated it to the captain's salary.
Correct.
Correct. And Trustee Peeper, just as we dig in more into that PD comms, that's also where we pay for PD telephones and internet, which make up, the internet's roughly $1,600 a month over at the PD.
But
which
there's
also-
another line item for telephones.
That does not include the internet.
Okay, so the internet would be under communication, but telephone would not be, correct?
Correct. General telephones are not. If they have additional communications within their squads or contracts with AT&T, Spectrum, those all get allocated to PD communications.
Okay. Did you have more questions?
I'm really confused after listening to that as to, this gets back to a broader picture I'm having this year, which, yes, there are overall contracts for copy machines. To hear that copy machines are somewhere in police department, I don't understand that. So what all is included in 561,500? That category? What is all included in there?
Say that one, say the number again. I apologize.
The one she's talking about, PD communications,
100.
561,500. What is all included in that category?
And I would also like to see what's all included in the copy machine line item too. Chief, do you know off the top of your head how many copy machines you have at the PD?
2.
2 copy machines is $3,500 a year? So,
One is in the annex for the support services, and the other one is in main building.
how often are they used?
Copy machines?
Yeah,
Very often.
Every day,
Yeah.
and you still need 2? Yeah,
unless you want to go outside and walk across the parking lot and just want a copy.
you don't have to walk across, oh yeah, you do.
Yes,
Never
you
mind.
do.
Sorry, for some reason I thought you could get through here.
That's how antiquated
Okay,
the police department is. Police station, not police department.
yes. So Matt, I think
Mhm.
you're gonna get us.
Yep, I
further
can
details
provide,
on
what I
those?
can do is I can Excel out the
Yep.
details for 2025 and 2024, which will provide essentially
Yep.
the invoice number, dollar amount, the vendor. The
Perfect.
majority of it is Spectrum, AT&T, and Ethoplex.
Okay. So I saw that we did have an expense for a chaplain. Um, now where was it? Right here. So we had an expense in 2023 and 2024. We have nothing for 2025. Is the chaplain just being done away with? Is it,
That was because of a grant. We had grant money that we received for the chaplain's position, as far as wellness and all that, and that's what was put towards it. We haven't gotten a grant because there's nothing out there right now. We've applied for a couple. We still have a chaplain, but he did a lot of extra stuff, is creating like, would do ride-alongs with us, check in with officers. He still does that, but there was a program that he was able to get paid for those 2 years.
is we pay the chaplain, obviously?
No,
Well, we don't pay the chaplain.
no, it's volunteer, and the grant money was just an extra, kind of added bonus, when he would come in and do stuff and assist with us.
Okay, so he would actually get paid for a little,
Correct.
okay.
Yep.
Well, that was an awfully nice grant. And we're not sure if any more grants like that are gonna become available.
Correct.
And we still have our grant writer at the PD.
Correct.
Awesome.
There is not much that's open right now.
What, is there any chance that the county would help pay for a chaplain for the village?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, I think the county would prioritize, other services than the chaplain, if I had to take a guess.
I'll give good old Showman a call about that, huh? Would that help at all?
I don't know. I mean, we still do have a chaplain.
Yeah, but if he,
It's like years ago, it was on a volunteer basis and he would assist with us with anything, like we had death notifications or just come in right along just to get to know and talk to the guys if they had any problems.
yeah,
Line 531020, copy machines. 16.675% increase for maintenance contracts are up.
he's going to get us the details for that line item.
I understand that. Is there a general copy machine in past budgets? Copy machines are under an umbrella and every department got allocated a certain amount of copy machines. Is that what this is about too?
Yeah,
Still
so
the same way?
how the copy machines work is we have a general lease for the copy machines at several of the buildings. We pay a quarterly fee for the lease itself, and then we are charged based on the number of copies, types of copies, those types of things on a monthly basis.
And general across the board, if I go to all the other departments, I'm gonna see that same 16.675 increase? Or is there a reason why the police department is higher? And this is part of the problem with doing it this way, is in the past, we would look at all the different budgets together and we would talk about them all together. But now that we're segregating that we only talk about this budget, we don't have that information.
Yeah, and so for the leases in general, PD is probably on the higher side. What I did is, I baked in the quarterly lease amount, then I adjusted based on historical usage for copies. So that increase might not be applicable across the village. It really depends on, how much of the copy machines folks are using.
IT maintenance. The police department alone spends, how much? was it?
74,000.
Or
Yeah, 74,000 a year.
Is that a question or?
Yeah,
Yes, historically they've been somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000 a year.
and what is all included under that line item?
Pull that up as well.
Which one are you talking about?
IT maintenance? Would that be like Microsoft licensing as well? Would that be under IT maintenance?
Just gonna pull it up before I say something that is not.
Yeah, sure.
Before he gives a wrong response, He's gonna look it up.
I always feel like he's on the stand under questioning
He
with the
is,
jury.
he is.
I feel bad.
So that account is mostly used for, there's a little bit of Pro Phoenix maintenance in there, as well as the Axon cameras. So think of body cameras, quad cameras,
So it's pretty much Pro Phoenix and
and Axon.
Axon
That
cameras.
is, I'd say that's 70 of the 74,000.
Yeah, Pro Phoenix is not cheap.
And you mentioned that as part of PD communications too. So is it split, the contract and maintenance?
So, no, so the Pro Phoenix is based on 2024 and 2025 and 2024 is entirely in IT. PD communications is Spectrum, AT&T, Ethoplex makes up the majority of PD communication.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask about line 561000, PD building utilities. It's a 13% increase and the description at the end says more aging squads require more repairs.
That should have been one line up under vehicle
Okay.
maintenance.
So that's just in the wrong line.
Yes.
I can accept that. Thank you.
And I'm guessing building utilities went up just because the cost of electric and gas and
The
everything.
Clean Energy's rates are higher, as well as just based on the historical usage. I wanted to bump that number up just based on where it's been the last couple of years.
Sure. That's what I figured.
And that's been true across all budget utilities. As you can tell by how cold it is in here, the AC pumping.
Question for the chief. What was it? Animal pound. So I'm guessing that is when you have to call animal control or something and have animals picked up or taken to the pound. Do we get reimbursed for the amount that we pay out? Do we charge the resident whose dog ran away, or
A lot of time we don't even know whose it is. It doesn't get picked. I mean, the Humane Society comes and picks it up. If we know who it is or it's chipped, we're able to contact them.
yeah?
Otherwise, it just goes to Humane Society.
And I know you guys are really good at the police department, holding the dog and posting it on Facebook and trying to reunite it. So these are just stray animals that
Correct.
to come and pick up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have I wouldn't call it a contract with the Humane Society, but they send out, what their estimated costs will be based on historical averages. When somebody gets a pet license and they, are late, those fees go directly to the Humane Society. Some of those late fees up at the county go to the Humane Society to cover their costs as well.
The PD insurance and bonds went up 17. What is that exactly?
Yep. So that accounts for workers' comp, building insurance, those types of insurances. Based on the historical actuals and just, out of an abundance of caution, just based on, the past few years, we've had some squad accidents. I kind of bumped that up to account for some increases there, as well as to cover any deductible that we might have for that accident.
Did other insurances go up in other departments? Or is this specific to the police department?
Insurances went up across all the departments, just for workers' comp, property insurance, those types of things. PDs went up more because I budgeted roughly an additional $20,000 to $25,000 for a deductible in the event there's a squad crash or something along those lines.
Okay.
Historically, those have gone unbudgeted, and we just pay it and cover the costs within that line, which is, as you can see, has been higher the last couple of years.
It's going to be a tough budget year.
Dental insurance, are we done with that that section?
Yeah, yeah, I think so, but do you have any questions, Kristen?
I don't right now.
Okay, What's the difference between police department and emergency management? Remind me?
There's two different orgs. One has a portion of the chief salaries budgeted there, as well as, when we had the flooding this past August, some expenses associated with that, we charged to emergency management.
Some of Steve's
It's
time
just a
goes there.
separate org code to track some of those activities.
Okay.
Historically, trustee Peeper, you know this well, the sirens are also budgeted there.
Oh, my lovely sirens. Where are the sirens?
It'll be probably under contracted services in emergency management. Which,
I must be on the wrong page.
541,
yeah, but
000.
a different orgs at the bottom. I do have a slide on that as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped.
Yeah, you jumped a lot of departments.
No, I didn't jump enough. Okay, so the sirens are under contracted services, correct?
Emergency
Correct.
government contracted services.
Okay. And we are paying Sheboygan warning systems, is that,
Correct.
Chief is nodding yes. I'm gonna go with yes on that one.
okay, and so we pay them, let's see, in 2024, we paid them $4,000 to just do exactly what?
Maintenance on the sirens. Basically go through and check them all. They activate them in the spring, turn them back on. And they just go make sure everything is functioning inside the hours.
So they turn them off in winter?
Yes. Due to the weather and cold, it could burn out the motors if the siren decides, like when you do the tests,
Sure.
try to test it and the motor will burn out. So
Do they take the batteries out as well? I wonder why, because that would shorten the lifespan of the batteries if they don't.
I don't know if they have a heating element on them where they keep the batteries warm. I'm assuming they do. Can't speak for sure.
And how
But-
many times a year do they come out?
Do they come out?
Yeah, to do maintenance.
Once a year in the spring, when they turn the sirens back on, they test to make sure they're all functioning.
And then I'm guessing once again in fall to, or late fall to,
If we have any issues with them, where that siren, like when we are tested on Saturdays, if there's a notification where the siren's not working, then we contact them and they'll come out and check it.
okay, but they don't do anything in fall to shut them down. They just come in spring to get them back going.
It's programming on the computer from what I was told. They just program the sirens just not to activate.
But they can't VPN and like they can't remotely go into them, or else we would have had them set something up to activate them. I'm
They
just wondering
They
what,
came out in spring to activate them because that's when the sirens weren't sounding in spring. They had to come out and actually physically turn them back on this computer system to activate them.
would you be able to get me some more details about the expenses that we've had from Sheboygan Warning Systems over the
Yeah,
last
rough-
couple years?
Yeah, it's roughly $4,000 a year, like the chief mentioned, for the
Yeah.
maintenance. I can provide copies of the invoice if you'd
Yeah,
like.
I'm just curious as to what they're charging us for and how much time they're actually spending on them.
Yep, I'd be happy to
um,
provide a copy of the invoice. I can get that.
If we could just have it before the next Public Safety Committee meeting, because I know the sirens are going to be on there. I don't have any other questions for emergency maintenance.
I'm going back up to patrol.
Okay.
Under the patrol heading, you've got an 11% increase for dental insurance. Is that going up across the board, the same 11%, or is that?
No, there's no increase in dental insurance premiums. There could just be additional folks who are taking the dental insurance or switching plan from single to family.
Okay.
But there's no change in the premiums.
Okay, and then life insurance is a 245% increase. Somebody's taking insurance now?
Yeah, so life insurance is based on, age and a factor that's set by the state. So depending on if folks are hitting certain years of age, that increases the rate. So what I did is I looked at what everybody was at in 2025 and made some assumptions on what the rates will be for 2026.
Yeah, we're not talking huge numbers. A 245% increase was from $730
$30.
up to $2,500. but
Yeah, and you'll see other swings in other budgets as well, where folks either are falling off the life insurance or younger folks are coming on. Those types of things really affected. They're not large dollar amounts. They're usually, a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 in any given department.
Can I ask a question?
go ahead.
Chief, it looks like we're in a very good spot right now as far as patrol overtime goes. Would you agree with that from our 2025 actual compared to our budget? And could we possibly lower that, do you think?
I would not lower it because the only reason it shows so good is because we used some of the wages that we didn't hire those officers this year, I believe. Matthew can maybe touch on that. Because we had so many vacant positions this year. I think he offset the overtime budget with those vacant positions.
Like in 2023, it was crazy high, 224,000, 100,000. 2024 was only 91,000. 2025 is looking great at 61,000. So you anticipate overtime to go up tremendously from this year to next?
I guess when we get the overtime budgets each month, I look at those. And if we go by those, we'll probably be over the 190,000.
This is strictly for patrol overtime, yeah. So you
'Cause I
think we're
we
gonna
have to
go,
figure, I mean, when we figure the overtime, we figure the comp banks in there too, because they have to have money reserved to pay in case they want to get paid out on their comp bank. So the 190, I think is, I mean, we hired another 8 officers also. So they're also having to get their reports done before they go home for criminal offenses because the DA wants
yeah,
approved report.
Yeah.
So that stuff is all going to be, I mean, you're going to have the vacation in there.
I understand that,
training.
but we're adding so many additional officers year after year. You would think that the overtime would go down and hopefully stay at a reasonable level the more officers that we hire.
Pretty sure we were told that the more, if we get the officers, we'll get rid of the overtime.
I don't believe I said we'd get rid of the overtime. I said it would
Yeah.
go down.
Yeah.
But we're still going to have overtime when we have to get reports to the DA's office, fill vacant shifts, sick calls, all things like that, training. We have to train our officers, obviously. So the training, most of the time it's on overtime because the staffing levels are at minimum and try to get to training within a week. Otherwise, we don't want to stretch the training, interdepartment training out for a month.
But you think that overtime is going to increase next year from this year?
I think it'll stay, I think staying the same, I think is what we should do. I wouldn't want to decrease it because then if we go over again, for some unforeseen reason, I mean, I'm not guaranteed that the 4 officers in recruit school are going to meet field training. We still need, we still have 2 positions we have to hire. So,
And once those 2 positions are hired, I think that would lower the overtime even more. I'm thinking we could take a lot out of that 2026 budget for overtime. Because your numbers for 2025 are looking absolutely fabulous.
And Trustee Peeper, just if you're looking at that spreadsheet, those numbers are a little old.
How old?
Probably mid-August, late August. If I'm pulling,
They're still looking good.
I'm pulling up the report that will be on Monday's public safety agenda. And if you're looking at current overtime is about $126,000 year to date. That's,
For patrol alone.
yeah, that's overtime paid out. It doesn't include any comp banks. If they want to get that paid out at the end of the year, they'll get that paid out.
So you said it's 120
$126,000. There's still roughly,
as of what date?
that would have been as of the last pay period, which would have been last week, I believe, as of last Sunday,
So,
in the last week or so.
so that doubled the overtime total for 2025 alone from August to September?
So I have overtime paid out through August was 116.
Then why does 2025 actuals say 61,000?
Because it's old.
But it's a month old.
It's a month old.
So what happened in that month that doubled it?
There could have been a pay period or two where if I pull the actuals and the payroll person's working on the budget, none of that overtime is calculated in there. So
But in less than a month, we paid out 60-some thousand dollars in overtime?
paid out roughly 48,921.
And can you break that out between patrol versus admin?
That is just patrol.
That's just patrol. Okay.
So,
I have the current one that she just sent out.
so
September. if you want.
January to July, or I'm sorry, January to August, we spend 61,000 on overtime. 7 months, but then in the matter of 1 month, we spend 48,000?
Do we have training or something that
there
there's a
some-
rationale to help explain the high increase?
Well, I have $126,615.46 on the year as of September for overtime paid out. There's $69,969,90 OT to comp. And that was just generated this past week from the payroll department.
Are everything that happened with the flooding, is that included in those numbers?
Is what?
From the flooding, is the overtime in those numbers?
Correct.
Any retirements during that time? That somebody,
For this year?
well, during that period, did somebody get paid out all their comp time? That would be a big draw, a big add to that.
May have been. He had one retirement. I don't know how much comp he had, and so
Matt, would we be able to go and seek relief from FEMA for reimbursement for the massive amounts of overtime that?
Yeah, we're planning on seeking reimbursement for all of those costs.
So okay, so,
Yeah, we're certainly planning on seeking reimbursement from the federal government for those costs.
okay, tell me if I'm correct in saying this. $48,921 is the overtime for patrol alone caused by the flooding, we think.
No, I can probably pull up that number, not at this moment, but I could get what we have recorded for overtime related to the flooding. It's gonna be less than the 48,000. Most of the overtime was on the DPW side, but there's certainly overtime in police and fire as well.
I'm
But
just
you
trying to
can-
make sense of this.
You can document what that 48,000 is for.
Yeah, I'd have to pull
Yeah.
some time cards and figure out, that, but we
If
can-
you, yeah,
we
if you
certainly
could
can
further
get
explain,
more overtime information.
that's just a huge jump in 1 month for overtime.
Shocking.
I'm good.
Okay. I have nothing else on patrol. Go down to detectives. Detectives don't work overtime. Nothing
actually
was
they do get
budgeted for that.
overtime.
What's that?
They do get overtime.
Nothing is budgeted though?
Check here once.
Yeah, I don't see anything budgeted for overtime for detectives.
Actuals in 2025 was 23,000 and there's, yes?
We break out overtime by PD union, sergeants, and at the time dispatch.
But-
So
You have 2023 actuals, 2024 actuals, and 2025 actuals for overtime for the detectives, but nothing's budgeted.
6 let me pull that one up as well.
511,600.
Thank you. The overtime, so I'm sorry.
I'm not positive, but I believe the detectives are lumped into the patrol because they're union. I think the union is all considered in patrol.
I think that's a bookkeeping issue then. If it's geared towards the detectives, it should be put towards the detectives, not,
So on, yeah, and I make a clarification on the general ledger. So what you're seeing in your spreadsheets, we do allocate that out to the detectives. The reports that this committee receives every month, it breaks it out by PD union, which includes the detectives, the sergeants, and at the time dispatch. So what we can do going forward is the reports we submit to this committee can have a separate one for detectives and not lump it in with just PD union, if that helps.
Please.
I think it should follow this format.
Yeah.
So we can, if we get one document, we look at another document, they both have the same data.
So then the 190,000 that's budgeted under patrol, is that to include what you're thinking for the detective overtime also?
Yes,
Instead of just being in the separate account line?
yes.
Should we move on to dispatch?
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know, I'm just turning the page.
Zip, 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 zip. There's
I
nothing
do
else.
not have a slide for dispatch, but if there's anything you'd like to talk about.
No, that's okay. But is there gonna be a new category for administrative?
All those positions are budgeted in the police admin budget.
Okay, perfect.
Let me go back a few slides just so I skipped over it, but this is a list of the current positions within the police department. Believe there's 42 sworn officers.
Which are the new positions that were just added when we got rid of?
The police support services, those two positions, and the police support specialist, that one. The records clerk was created in, I believe, July of last year. That was one other dispatcher.
So those are the four positions that came from out of the dispatch. Those dispatchers went into those four places.
Correct.
Okay.
And did those salaries increase a lot from when they were dispatched versus the roles now?
They stayed the same.
Okay.
All right. Going forward again?
I was just going to move up to, I guess we already spoke about emergency management. If there's no other PD questions, actually, no, we can talk about PD capital. We're move on to fire.
Wait, I gotta get to there. Capital highlight level, okay.
The police department design, 3 million. I understand they figured 10%. What the heck do we get for $3 million as far as design? I don't know if you even know the answer to that. Like
yeah,
what's
that
involved
one's
that
probably-
needs to be $3 million?
You get a full set of construction documents. That is the full service of the architect and the design team from beginning to end. That $3 million will be paid out from the time they start design. The last bill won't be paid until we have a ribbon cutting, and 3 months later, they close out all the bills, then we'll pay the final payment.
It'll be, a part of that 3 million goes towards the actual construction of, right?
No,
I
this is
was
just
told
design.
that we have to put money down.
Well, that is a whole different topic.
That's what I was told that.
The
is
design
included in
fees,
this.
a $30 million building is what they're proposing. 10%
Those are the
fee
current
is what the
estimates.
architect is charging. That 10% fee is the $3 million. His fee,
That literally is just for design, $3 million?
Yes.
Well, shoot, I went to school for the wrong thing then.
no, you didn't. No, you wanted to be a contractor, because the contractor is the one that's gonna make the money.
And before we spend this money on design, do we have a location?
No,
No, so how the process would look is once the village board picks a location, we go for RFP for design services.
So I'll say this to both the fire chief and the police chief. We're in a tough spot, really tough spot budget wise. And I'm gonna ask you this, Chief Lane, after I ask, Chief Martin, but if you see, do you see anywhere in the budget that you can cut anything? Is there any wants that you can just hold off for a year?
You mean the general budget or the capital?
Well, the capital, it's request, so you're not exactly, yeah.
So the general, I mean, I don't think there's anything where we can cut in that. We've come down in some items, other things we haven't even gone up like we should. Uniforms, I went up 3,000. We've hired 8 people over the last 2 years. That doesn't even cover one person, 3,000. So, we're giving them two shirts, 2 pants, a ballistic vest, and all the coats. That one I can't. Copy machine went up obviously because the contracts. General supplies, we came down some. Office supplies, we came down a little bit. Fuel, we came down a bunch because of what we bought this year. We figured for next year. So we came down some on that.
You don't see even like slight cuts anywhere? You don't see anything that can be,
I don't think we can cut any more than we have already.
sorry.
We back on the capital.
Yes.
25 rifle lights. I assume I got 25 squad cars. Each squad car has a rifle in it. Each rifle has a light on it.
Correct.
Okay, same thing. What is a rifle suppressor? I'm thinking you got a silencer you're screwing onto the front of a gun.
It is not a silencer. It is not silent whatsoever. It literally lessens the
Kickback?
loudness of
Yes.
the gun when firing it. It is not like in the movies where you hear pew pew. That is not what it does. It just
And-
lessens the level of,
Silences the gun.
no, it does not silence it. You can
It
still
lowers the
clearly hear it.
decibels.
But to my knowledge, you still need hearing protection even with a suppressor.
Correct.
You do, however, it's less decibels. I mean, technically, when you would shoot it with a suppressor on the gun, you could be standing behind them and them shooting. Or with a regular, without the suppressor on it, and you're on the range, you have to have the earmuffs on. Otherwise, you will go deaf.
So is this mostly used for training on the range, or would you anticipate using it as an expectation for patrol officers?
Therefore, patrol, it's not one of these things you could take on and off.
Mhm.
When they're on the gun, they're on the gun. And they're gonna be put on. Majority of the guns get fired at training. Yes, they do. I'm not saying that we're not gonna use it. We had an incident at Kennedy Middle School. Okay, we had to use the rifles.
And you didn't have suppressors at that time?
Correct.
And do you feel like, besides that example, are there any other examples in Germantown where you feel like having the suppressor would have changed the outcome?
Could I ask that in a different way? How many times in the last year or two has an officer discharged his weapon?
I don't have that number. I guess, are we looking at what's happening now or what for the future? I don't know how many people, somebody could come in here shooting right now. I can't
Sure.
predict the future. And these suppressors are for the future of events when officers are using their guns. Communication, officers don't grab earmuffs when they grab the gun out of the car and they go to a call.
But neither does a homeowner either when they're trying to protect or,
Correct. And the homeowner can buy a suppressor if they want. That's why I'm putting this here for the village, basically. We look at putting suppressors on our weapons. It increases the communication when officers are trying to communicate during this. The fire of officer versus a suspect, the officer will have suppressors on their guns. You're gonna hear the difference in the tones from the guns going off.
Did you get a quote for the suppressors?
Correct.
All right.
We had 2 of them. They also tested them.
Dollars for a suppressor is,
Thousand.
no, well, this one says 25 at 500 and then 25 at 699.
Correct. We got some in and we tested them, last week or the week before.
At the range by the dump.
Yes.
Where would you be, does it say where you would be ordering them from?
So we would put what?
Where would you be buying them from?
Just that it was just given the brand names, we would buy them from companies that sell them, whoever distributes it. I know the Gemtech, I believe that is a Smith and Wesson product. So that would come from Smith and Wesson. Dead Air, that's a brand. There's a company that sells those. The difference between them is the Gemtech is Smith and Wesson. Their technology, I mean, their technology is there, but they're an old company where it takes longer for them to basically get something approved and manufacture something, where Dead Air is on the leading edge of technology and they're always trying to improve. So that's where the price difference, I figured we give you 2 different prices. Both of them are good suppressors.
And have we factored in additional training that's necessary? Because to my understanding, it's very different using a suppressor than not. And with more training comes more overtime hours. So has that been,
It wouldn't affect it because we just incorporate that into one of our trainings. We shoot quarterly. So we would just incorporate that into one of the training sessions.
It's not much different to fire one with a suppressor than one without.
We just went through optics training for all our handguns for all the employees also, so that was.
Is there a certain day of the week that you guys, that the police department or people from the police department go to the range to shoot? It's just, obviously you all don't go there at once.
No, obviously we work with waste management for the range. So there's a schedule. We have to look at our schedule, see what works for us.
It's not set.
It's not set. We basically look at the schedule maybe 6 months in advance and figure out a month where we can do, where people aren't on vacation, where there's enough staffing, where we can get training done in a week. And then we schedule it, make sure the range is available and then go down there.
and do you know if other local communities like Menominee Falls or Jackson, West Bend, if all of their patrol officers have a suppressor?
Yes, I do. Mequon PD has them.
Everyone?
Correct. Menominee Falls, I believe they have them or they were in the process of getting them. Washington County has all of them for their SWAT team. Jackson has them for their patrol also. I believe Cedarburg does also.
I'm just curious, it says it limits liability and litigation risks. How does it do that?
What?
Loss of hearing, probably, I'm guessing.
In summary for the suppressors are a force multiplier. It says limit liability and litigation risks. I was just curious what that is, what it limits.
The liability is what you're talking about?
Yes.
Well, the long-term liability is for like hearing loss. Officers using the regular rifles at the range all the time. Yes, we're wearing hearing protection, but when you mount the rifle on your cheek, the hearing protection gets adjusted. And anybody that shoots a lot knows that the hearing protection only protects your ears so much.
So
Well-
these are rifles, not pistols,
Correct.
that you're getting the suppressors for.
Correct.
Okay. And the rifles are only used in situations like the Kennedy Middle School. You know, anything obviously like that, but on a normal patrol or normal call, you wouldn't be grabbing the rifles unless, you know, obviously it's
Where
a serious situation.
where the officer believes there's imminent threat of a weapon, the officer will be grabbing the rifle. So if you know there's a
Yeah,
Somebody reported with
Yeah.
a gun, they're grabbing their rifle out of the car when they get there.
they're not gonna be grabbing their rifle out of their car for a patrol stop, unless it's something,
No,
they
it's
see a
when they're,
criminal
it's
record.
when they know there's an imminent threat,
Okay.
or believe there is, they're gonna grab their rifle.
What's the lifespan of a rifle?
Forever, as long as you take care of it.
Depends on how much you shoot it. The barrels wear out once in a while. You shoot them a lot. Technology changes, as far as all the attachments that you put on the rifles. So like we have a Picatinny rail mount right now. The new lights, would have a mod system that's kind of like a snap-on where you snap them in and they expand and connect. So I would say between 10 and 15 years, based on the time, how much you shoot them. So we shoot them probably quarterly. We try, or I should say, we try to shoot them every time we go to the range, at least get some rounds so the guys and girls are familiar with the rifles and the functionality of them.
Are they cleaned and greased after? Each time you guys shoot them like that?
Yes, they're clean, basically clean, and then an armor looks at them once a year on any maintenance issues.
But I'm saying after you go to the range and shoot them, do the officers break them down and clean them?
Yes, and oiled.
And how long would you say a suppressor lasts?
From what I was told, lifetime.
Okay.
Only time they break is if they're either
Be pretty hard.
damaged,
to
stepped
clean.
on, broke, dropped, driven over.
Mhm.
And from what I've heard is that they'll replace them free.
Okay.
If you are able to look it up and see how many times in the last couple years officers discharged not their pistol, but their rifle.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
You mean at the range?
No,
No,
No.
in the
in the field.
line of duty.
So any other incidents similar to the one that you provided in 2023?
Is the drone, you already have one drone, correct?
Two of them,
Two, so you're just looking to add a third drone?
correct. One of them's coming to its end of life. 3 to 5 years. It's 5 years old. So that's the one we're looking at replacing. We'll keep it. We have all of the same drones so that we can take parts off of one and put them on another if we need to.
What's the technology in this drone?
What's the technology?
Yeah, I caught something online or somewhere this week that they've got a new system out that they can do facial recognition. They can read the license plates. They can do all kinds of stuff. Is that what this type of drone is, or is this just we can circle above and look down on the village?
This is not that type of drone. Does it have the capabilities probably to zoom in on a vehicle and get a plate? Yes. As far as that's what we're going to use it for, I can't say we're not going to. But the majority of the stuff is for officer safety, putting the drone up, search and rescue, searching for suspects that run from stops or residences.
Thermal imaging cameras?
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
So it looks like there'll be rifles purchased 5 per year over a 5-year period. Is that correct?
That was another proposal.
Okay.
We had 20 rifles initially that we purchased 14 years ago, 10 years ago.
So right now everything's 14 years old.
10, I think here, 10 or 14. Some of them are older. 5 additional rifles were taken from our SWAT operators that received their rifles from the sheriff's department now because of the multi-jurisdictional team.
Mhm.
Those rifles are fully automatic. We've given those to certain cars that where there's single officers in, like our K9. So only one officer. We don't want We don't want somebody jumping in a car thing. It's a semi-auto and they flip the switch and it's fully auto. So those, we would plan to replace 5 guns a year over the next 5 years. Just to update the technology of them. And all the optics, slings, suppressors, all that equipment would fit onto the new rifles.
Okay.
Matt, can you explain the capital requests? What would guarantee, or, what makes them get things on their request list and what would make it not happen?
Yeah, so there's a couple factors we look at when determining, what we ultimately recommend for the capital requests. One of the factors is the overall capital request budget that we've historically adopted. So historically, we've tried to budget roughly $3 to $3.5 million in capital requests. Certainly over the time I've been here, and maybe a year or two before I got here. The majority of that has been DPW projects. Roads is roughly $1.5 million. Patrol truck is, $250,000 to $350,000. So we look at the overall capital request. What we also try to look at is, where have all the capital requests, been approved from in previous years. So if there's a few years where PD, kept putting the same capital request on and it kept getting, denied or pushed off or not important, that's a consideration. The first year it was recommended, didn't make it, maybe 4 years later, maybe they do need it and we should go with that. And then it ultimately comes down to the recommendation from the department heads. They know what equipment they need on a day-to-day basis. They know the impact it has on their operations. I'd be hard pressed to tell chief, you don't need rifles.
Sure.
I don't know. So those are some of the considerations. We try to stick around the $3.5 million mark. Certainly in 2026, correct. Certainly in 2026, our capital request is much higher than that. That's largely driven by PD design and a Fire Station 2 renovation, but also increased request from DPW.
So Chief, for your capital requests, with the PD design being on there and for as much as it is, I hate to say this, but what can be pushed till next year on capital requests? Because the way I see it, we're gonna have to push the majority of these to next year.
Trust Peeper, I would just, add on top of that. I agree the $3 million is a lot. It's only 10% of $30 million that will likely come as part of the 2027 budget.
Yeah,
So,
but we have to figure out what we can put off till next year with the way that we're just hemorrhaging money.
I did provide paper copies. This was also in the packet of the different capital budgets and how they affect the taxes for 2027. So if you look at the 5-year note, that is largely police and fire vehicles and equipment. That's roughly all those projects combined is roughly 5 cents per $1,000 of home value. The majority of that being for the vehicles. I mentioned this at the Public Works and Highway Committee. To save the average resident $10, you need to cut $400,000 of capital projects. Just to give some perspective on, you should judge each project on the merits itself. If you're trying to make, tax impacts, the largest impacts are PD design, fire station, roads. These smaller projects, I don't say have no tax impact, but it's probably pennies on the dollar for what that's worth.
A penny's still a penny.
Right.
Penny is still a penny.
Part of the problem I have with the projected is the maintenance items we're moving into capital because we can't put them in the regular budget. That's a issue for me. But Chief Merton, I recommend that you get copies of what you gave us to the other trustees so that they can read over your reasoning before we have that meeting for the capital budget.
Yeah, and I can include that. I'll work with Chief. I can also include that in the packet when we have our first committee of the whole meeting.
But back to Trustee Peeper's question, is there anything that could be put off for a year?
Something around $9 million worth?
his capital.
Oh,
office.
this
I,
year.
I would, I would say I probably could do the rifle lights. The 5 rifles, we probably could hold off and start with capital for next year, working towards those, getting, replacing the new ones, and the drone. The only reason I say that is because the drone, we have gotten them through a grant. The grants usually don't come out until April, if they do, and we could possibly write a grant for a drone. The squad cars, I have to get 5 cars. I've spent over how much on maintenance on this year on 3 cars that are getting replaced. Over a third of my budget was spent on those 3 cars. If we push those off, then next year it's going to be 10 replaced.
Didn't, how many cars did we authorize this year?
As part of the 2025 budget,
No, I remember going through public safety. Do you guys remember putting squads?
There were 4 of them. However, I don't know if one was a
Wasn't one
crash car
replaced.
from the previous year.
One was a crashed
Okay.
vehicle.
And insurance paid for that?
Correct.
Okay.
So this, I mean, I'm looking at 5 years out, if we would, with a 25, 26 car fleet, if we would replace 5 cars a year, to keep the mileage lower, repair costs down. Right now, we're still in the process of setting our cars up so they're uniform. We have about 2/3 of the fleet set up like that. This could possibly take care of the rest of that, setting them up so the cars are uniform. What I did this year was I had to take 2 cars out of patrol and transition them to detective cars. At that point, I'm paying to have a car set up twice. I'm paying $4,000 to have them strip a car and set it up for the Bureau. So it's not cost effective if we budget for the cars every year. The cars that we sell, then we'll get more for the resale values of them also, instead of selling a car with 165,000 miles on it.
Is the resale value included anywhere in this budget?
no, so I believe we talked about this at Public Works as well for their vehicles. There's really 2 options you can do, depending on when you sell the cars. So if we go out and do our annual borrowing in the spring and we sell the car shortly after, we would hold those funds to
Apply it to the
to
new
pay
ones.
down the debt service
Gotcha.
or, the interest on that. If we sold the cars in January, which we likely wouldn't do because then we're down 2 cars or 5 cars and we don't have the 5 cars we purchased, we'd use it to help finance the vehicles. But what we could do and likely would do is use those sales dollars to pay down the debt service. But that would just be a one-time pay down for the debt service. That wouldn't account, year over year.
We have somebody in DPW that is evaluating every piece of equipment DPW has and the lifespan of it. How deep is that analysis going? Does it go through the whole village? Is it gonna include fire department and police department, or is it just DPW?
I don't believe, and Trustee Jen Miller is on Public Works, so she might have a better answer. I don't believe that included the PD vehicles. It certainly went very deep on all of the DPW
DPW, yeah.
equipment and vehicles. I think they have a 10-year equipment plan. They're working on a 10-year equipment plan. I don't believe that included the PD vehicles. I would have to reach out to the Public Works Director for that.
Is that the asset manager you're talking about?
Yeah, that's it.
I would think the asset manager should do every asset in the village, not just DPW.
Yeah, I think they're primarily focused as we get ramping up here on DPW, water utility, super utility assets, and then they're going to branch out as they get that
Okay.
underway. I mean, the majority of our assets are in Public Works.
And the intent is to spread them over everything.
Correct.
Okay. Then we'll have an idea of
And
better idea of how often and
for reference, we budgeted 4 squad vehicles for 2025.
what have we done in the past prior to that? 2 or 3?
I think my first year, for maybe my first 2 years was 2. Last year was 4. This year we're recommending 5.
We were doing 2 on a regular basis because they aged out, 2 aged out every year. Then we went to 4 because we were bringing on all the new officers and we needed more cars for the new officers. So we needed 2 more. So we went to 4 last year.
I'm not sure if that's why it was 4 or not. I don't think we expanded I don't think we expanded the fleet. The only way we expanded the fleet was when we would get cars and I would keep a car to expand the fleet, and which didn't replace a car that needed to be replaced.
Okay.
We have 2 cars that our SROs drive to the schools. Those can only be, we try to put 2 officers in a car. Those cars can only be shared by a 3rd shift officer because they work 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. That covers 1st and 2nd shift. They have the vehicles with probably the highest mileage on. We were in a predicament, I don't know how many years ago, where we bought 2 used Mercuries, used Blazer from the village. We finally got rid of those 2 Mercuries this year out of our fleet because they were not patrol worthy. All they were good for was going to the post office.
Right.
So the purpose of this is to keep our fleet up to date along with lower mileage and less repairs. We've had transmissions going on them, front axles. The K9 squad, we've been having issues with the air conditioning on it. So those are some cars that need to get replaced for sure, along with the other 2 that are high mileage.
In 2023, we did 2 squad vehicles. In 24, we did 3. In 25, we did 4. So we've slowly added 1 the last several years.
So next year we'll do 6.
That I'll wait till I see what chief recommends for 2027.
If we would go with the 5 cars every year for us, we would recycle the cars. Some cars would get replaced 3 years, some cars would get kept 6 years. Cars with lesser mileage would get kept longer, and the cars that would have more mileage on them would get replaced sooner. So with that 5 would give me some leeway to basically replace cars with higher mileage and keep a car maybe 6 years, maybe lower mileage.
Okay.
So are there 7 squad cars total and we want to replace 5 every year?
No, we have 26
26.
total.
Okay, I
These are
read
the-
7 here. So.
No, these are the 7 that are over 100,000 miles.
Okay,
The 3 that are starred are the ones that made up $15,000 or $14,000 worth of repairs this year.
okay.
Those would be the 3 cars getting replaced along with 2 of the other ones.
And if you were to sell the car, like let's just say the 2016 with 115,000 miles, estimating, what do you think you would get for that?
Maybe 4,000.
All right.
Are there any other questions on the capital budget? Anything you wanted to add, Chief Merton, before we move on to fire?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Good, Matt.
All right, moving on to the fire department. So the majority of the fire department revenues comes from ambulance fees. We budget roughly, $800,000 a year in ambulance fees. That is not, I wouldn't call it a revenue maker or a money maker for the village. That is really just to offset the costs of the personnel and equipment that is charged for ambulance services. In addition, we received these funds last year and we'll receive them over the next few years, is a county EMS grant. So the county provides $177,000 to EMS services throughout the county. So we budgeted that under the intergovernmental revenue for 2026, which, like I said, is $177,000. That accounts for the majority of the change within the revenues for the fire department. Oh, in addition, state aid for fire insurance increased slightly over the previous year.
What does that mean for fire insurance?
I'm gonna pass that one over to Chief Delane on the details.
2% of all fire insurance from commercial and industrial buildings in the state of Wisconsin are returned to the fire departments. So if you have a business that's worth whatever, $150 million, or if their policy is whatever that company pays, 2% of that money goes back to the fire departments in that jurisdiction. That is the state paying the fire department to do fire inspections.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, over the last several years, that dollar figure has gone up. In 2024 is roughly, or 2023 is roughly $133,000. 2026, we're projecting roughly $165,000. Looking at fire admin expenses, the majority of the change, not much change for 2026, only a 1.23% increase over the 2025 adopted budget. You'll see there's slight increases in salaries and wages as well as operating expenses.
And telephone's just going up because you're allocating over everybody?
Those are not the crescendo telephones, like a telephone that you would pick up, but and call somebody. That is for services that are attached to fire vehicles, ambulance, those types of services, and other electronic services. I can provide a detailed list of that as well. Over the last year or two, there's been a lot of change. We're switching providers and things like that. So we're trying to hone in on what that dollar amount will be on an annual basis.
Okay.
There's no other questions on fire admin. I'll move on to. Oh, I'll take a pit stop and do fire positions before you are the positions within the fire department.
Just to touch on this, this is, we would be 100% full minus one person at the end of this year.
What are you missing?
We have a spot held open for an assistant chief position, but we cannot fill that until we have the expansion to put the person in.
So you have a room, you can't have a person.
Until we have the room, we can't have the person.
Right.
Looking at for fire protection expenses, you'll see the largest increase is in salaries and wages. That's largely driven by fire department union contract, as well as departments get younger, they get to do the increased steps. So if you think about the fire department union contract, you get a step and a percent increase. And typically that averages around, depending on what part of the step you're on, roughly, 9 to 10% annually. As you move up the steps, once you get to the top of the step, then it's just an annual increase of whatever the union negotiated. I believe for 2025 going forward, it was 4%, 3.5% or 4%. The largest expense, actually, that would be on the admin expense. The large expense is the public fire protection charge that the general fund pays to the utility every year. It's roughly $535,000.
What's that for?
If you recall, we discussed it a few times over the years. That is for the water utility to have enough pressure to fund, or enough pressure for the hydrants to put out fires and things like that. So it helps maintain those that equipment and those assets, and that's required by the Public Service Commission. Municipalities have options of how they collect that public fire protection fee. The Village of Germantown splits it, so the majority of it is on the tax roll, and then a smaller portion was added to the water utility once the first rate step increases went into effect.
And that was, as I recall, that was based on rural versus suburban, where you have a fire system, where you don't have a fire system. So we only put some of it on the property tax bill because people out in the
That's
boonies.
correct. So the rationale behind it is whether you live in a non-hydrated area of the village or a hydrated area of the village, we are still using the fire hydrants to fill our trucks and truck water out there. So to make it equitable for everybody to pay a share of the maintenance, it comes out of our budget.
But since there's no fire hydrants out in the country area, people that have them in their neighborhood pay a little bit more
Right.
because they have the convenience of them.
Correct. The folks on the water utility will pay it on their taxes, and they also pay a portion on the utility bill. And then there are two capital requests from the fire department for the 2026 budget. The large request would be the fire station 2 renovation of $6.5 million.
$275,000. How many vehicles is that?
That's for 2 vehicles. If you recall back in 2018, when we had the consultant in, the consultant recommended that we sell our grass fire vehicles because from his records, looking at our records, he didn't think we got that many grass fires. After we sold our vehicle, our grass fire incidents have ticked up. So we took one of our pickup trucks that we have that would normally be used for everyday business of the fire department and converted it into a grass truck again. However, it's not very conducive to just operating during a day-to-day basis. In fact, especially in winter, water likes to freeze. So we usually try and drain it. We ended up with major damage to it last year with water sitting in pockets and stuff like that. So we are looking to replace the battalion chief vehicle with something more conducive to actually running an incident command and another vehicle for our fire inspection division, since we have 2 fire inspectors during the day.
So what type of vehicles are these that are?
One would be like a typical Ford Explorer, like we drive, and the other one would be more of a pickup truck style that has specialized equipment in the back for running incidents. You have dry erase boards, pull-out trays, extra radios, things that we can actually utilize when we're on the scene to run a scene, especially if it's a prolonged incident.
Much like what I saw in videos of the flood where somebody was standing behind a truck and they had the dry erase board.
That's correct.
All that stuff.
Yep.
So this is 2 vehicles, one of them outfitted,
That is fully ready to go. Yes.
all that stuff. You got a breakdown of the price between the 2 of them by chance?
The battalion chief vehicle was 160? Yeah, 160. And the remainder would be for the other one for upfitting and graphics.
What's special about the battalion chief vehicle?
It's the equipment that's inside of it. So in addition to it having a cap on the back, a pickup truck, pull-out trays in the back, the extra radios, usually 3 or 4 radios that are mobile, having the dry erase boards, outfitting it with,
That's the one that's outfitted.
yes.
Okay, what's the other inspection vehicle? That's,
It still would be an emergency response vehicle in case they're out and about in the village. So we'd still have to get the graphics done on it, the center console, or portable radios, medical bags, things along those lines.
that's an Explorer though?
Yes.
Or whatever that was.
Yep.
Explorer. Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Delaney? Matthew, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or you're good, or?
Nothing I wanted to add. I just want to talk about next steps a little bit. So next Wednesday, we'll have our first committee of the whole meeting, which will be the entire village board. And how we're kind of planning on laying that out, as I spoke with the administrator this morning, and I'll speak with them throughout the rest of the week, is we'll do a high-level summary of the discussion and topics that were had at each committee level. So at Public Works, there was one recommended change that they had made. So we'll include that on the committee of the whole level. GGF, there was a recommended change. We'll include that at the committee of the whole. For public safety, I'll have a summary of kind of the discussion that we had. I'll provide some more information on the things that you'd requested regarding overtime and some of those other PD lines. We'll talk about that at the committee of the whole. It's kind of a high level, this is what discussed, we'll make votes on the recommended changes. So for example, at Public Works, there's a recommended change to increase some funding for one of the ponds for $1,500. that'll be brought before the committee of the whole, and they'll make a motion to approve that change. And then I'll say, the third topic will be kind of an overview of the capital fund again, just a high level capital fund. These are the projects, estimated costs, estimated tax impact. You can have a larger discussion, as a group on the capital project. And then the fourth or fifth final item will be some wrap up items. If we got any additional state aid that needs to be allocated, we can have that conversation with that committee of the whole. Depending on how that first committee of the whole meeting goes, they can opt in to have another committee of the whole the following Wednesday, or they can go to publish the public hearing notice, which will be on November 17th.
Any questions? Okay, the next public safety meeting is Monday, October 6th at 6 PM. I know trustee Borst cannot be here. Can you two be here? So we'll have a quorum. October 6th. Next Monday.
Yep.
6 o'clock. Yes,
Yes.
yeah, 6
Okay.
o'clock I can do it.
So the next meeting is Monday, October 6th at 6 PM, and this meeting is adjourned at 7:36 PM.
Way to go. Good job. Spectacular meeting.
I hate budgets.
I think this format is.
Put it in the. He's had, hang on. It's okay, go, please stare. I'm not coming at you again, I promise. You put it in this packet. Additionally, if any member of the board would like an in-person demonstration of this Wisconsin press rifle, please reach out to me and arrangements will be made. Can I come shoot them too?
I knew that was coming.
Fine, well, obviously, I'm not gonna take guns and just go off by myself and
Come on,
do some solo shooting at the dump.
I'll go out there with you.